Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, if you're new and you found this video and you're part of the Zebec family, listen, make sure to subscribe. We're going to be covering this coin every single day. And if not every single day, it's going to be probably 5 to 6 times a week on this channel at the bare minimum. Listen, things are looking good, but we just have to hold roughly a couple more hours when this video comes out. But as the time of recording, we practically have to hold another 16 more hours and the weekly candle will look fantastic. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, right, what I'm looking for Zebec, right, is for this to be the bottom, right? And if we do get a close, let's say something very close to this, or even if it was this, then this would count as a higher low on the weekly, right? It would, because we have the bottom of the black candle here. And then, of course, if it closed like this, the bottom would be higher up than here, right? Very, very simple. And the reason why that is so important, because we've seen in the past, right? When we have a low for a boom weekly candle, but then we have a higher low, we can actually see that a pump over the next very, very few short weeks happen, right? We can see we got the higher low. We still got a fake out in the beginning of the next week, but it's still closed decent. And then we can see the next 2 weeks were very great, right? Boom. What happened over here? We had a low, right? And then we closed with a higher low. Okay. Yes, we closed with a higher low. And then we can see, boom, 1, 2, 3 weeks later, we already had a nice, another big pump, right? So it is very important. And it's the same thing here, right? We can nitpick a little bit, right? We had this bottom here, and then this is technically a higher low. I know it's very minimal, but then again, 2 weeks later, we pumped a lot. I understand the context back here was different, right? It was different. We were more in accumulation phase. We were really just going sideways. It was different context, but technical analysis, it's still, pretty much the same. When certain things happen, it pretty much always means the same thing, unless something drastic in the world or for the crypto specifically would happen. But that is usually such a big anomaly that we don't really pay attention to that unless, the news does come out. But everything in terms of Zebec has been looking smooth. I know some people call this coin a scam, but I mean, I've covered so many coins and every single coin's a scam, and supposedly the whole crypto market's a scam. So I don't know why people are even watching his videos if they think everything is a scam, right? Anyways, right? I just like to, clown on these people a little bit because, everyone thinks they know, but the reality is they don't know. They're just ignorant and arrogant. And at the end of the day, it only costs them. If they want to fade a project like Zebec, go ahead, be my guest. I will be buying back the bottoms. I mean, I literally did buy back somewhere down over here. If we do go lower, of course, I'll dollar cost average at very low points as well. Look, ladies and gentlemen, right? Obviously, this last daily candle Saturday does not look the best, but the reality is right now we are still kind of forming higher and higher lows on the daily. Yes, we are also pretty much forming lower and lower highs consistently. So we are getting kind of squished, right? We are getting kind of squished, and we do have to make a choice, which is why, it's good that it is a Sunday, because even if there is just a little bit of selling pressure, nothing too crazy, there's a high chance we tap into this order block. And then pretty much next week, we try to make another attempt. Even if we don't, right? Even if we just kind of go sideways next week, as long as we get this higher low on the weekly, I'll be more than satisfied. I'll be more than satisfied because we can actually see, before, right? It always has showed that every time, there's a higher low or a change of momentum, it kind of still goes sideways for a little bit and then explodes, right? And, I do believe in the technical analysis, and I do believe there is going to be some kind of Zebec rally sooner than later, right? Right now, we are also in this aggressive trend, which I do expect for us to overall break out of it sooner than later. The markets have been fairly green. Now, it's not necessarily altcoin season just yet, okay? Let's just clarify that right now. It's not necessarily altcoin season just yet, but ladies and gentlemen, we are getting closer and closer. Bitcoin dominance is falling, right? Bitcoin dominance is falling. So if we look at something like this, right, this is a very, very key important zone. If we do not hold this, roughly, let's say 61%, then there's a high probability that we will be dropping lower and lower. And that'll be the indication of the start of altcoin season, kind of like what we had over here, and then sideways movement, and then the big sell-off, right? Then those 4 to 6 weeks. But like I said, my eyes are still here. My eyes want to see how we react off this zone, right? If we do kind of pull back, then pretty much we will be looking to see things like Bitcoin continue to pump up higher and higher. Maybe some big market cap coins, continue to have a decent rally. But us little boys, we might just see little gains here and there. But that's okay, because right now, the most important thing for something like Zbec is just to be as fundamental as possible, right? The reality is, as great as it is to get a nice pump, kind of like the way we did for these 2 weeks, we don't really want something too sporadic, too fast, because every time you get something like this, there has to be a correction. So if, we are going to extend and the next few short weeks, let's say the next two and a half months, Bitcoin's gonna be focusing on just going up, Bitcoin dominance is gonna go up, then something like Zbec can just fundamentally, recover, right? Even if we do go lower and then we start going higher, something like Zbec can just kind of fundamentally continue to go up higher and higher before it's ready for an expansion, okay? Overall, I'm super optimistic about this coin, right? You know me, I think this coin at the bare minimum should be hitting 10 billion market cap. Okay, it is a very unique coin, and there's not many other coins that have done something like this, right? We also know that there's so many exchange listings that are possible. We know that XRP is possible, the XRP partnership, and we know XRP has more to go, right? We know it does. XRP, very high chance we hit around, let's just say $10, which is roughly a 3x. So even if we did do a little bit less than $10, we're looking at over 500 billion market cap. And I already said, right? I already said this. If we can get simply 10% of XRP's, piece of the pie, or even 5%, we're looking at very, very high market cap in its peak form. We'd be looking anywhere from 25 to 50 billion market cap for Zbec. Now, obviously, that is with the partnership, okay? And those would be insane gains, right? I'm talking about almost 100x from here if we did hit 25 billion market cap. It sounds crazy now, but when a coin is, doing some next level partnerships, when there's more innovation in the world, when there's more money coming in, something like 25 billion market cap is more than realistic, especially if the XRP partnership would happen. Now, you know what? Even if it doesn't, I still think there's a high probability of us hitting at least a 20 to 30x return potential for this coin, as I do believe there's going to be more and more adoption, more and more innovation, and I really do think the whole crypto world is going to accelerate faster than we can really comprehend. Okay, I really do believe so. And things like Zbec, in terms of what they're trying to achieve, will be in the spotlight one way or another. Okay, I really do believe that. You know me, like making these videos saying Zbec's gonna go up or down, it's more for you guys. But at the end of the day, right? Even if I did, let's just say this coin's gonna 1000x, every video I say it's gonna 1000x. I don't control the markets. The couple hundred views to 1,200 views I get on Zbec, I'm not gonna influence the market. So it's not like, I have some type of power and I'm just saying this to say this. Like, no, this is like what I genuinely believe from the heart. I'm not trying to bait people into thinking, they're going to make some type of gains. I'm going with like pretty reasonable probability. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you are new, once again, join the trading community, right? Join the free Discord, subscribe. We will be covering this coin more often. Thank you all for the support, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.